One of the members of my community recently explained to me that since they quit drinking a couple of weeks ago, their feelings of anxiety and depression have got worse. They were expecting to feel like $1 million after taking a break from drinking, and they were shocked that these feelings were coming up and they were wondering what was going on. Now, the fact is that when we're drinking heavily or regularly, alcohol messes with our emotional regulation. And over time, it can cause our anxiety and our depression to become significantly worse. Loads of studies have been done around this. And whilst they haven't attributed alcohol as an exact cause to anxiety and depression, it's a huge contributor. And there's another video that I'll share at the end of this that talks more about exactly how alcohol can lead to depression and anxiety. Now, when we're drinking, we're not sleeping properly. It might feel like you're having a good night's sleep if you've drunk alcohol, but the reality is that we don't enter the proper sleep cycles that allow us to wake up feeling fully refreshed and fully restored. It's called REM sleep, and without it, we can wake up feeling really, really tired, and that can make us irritable, it can make us feel more anxious, and it can also contribute to the feeling of being slightly down or even depressed. But when you add to that the fact that alcohol interferes with our emotional regulation, it can be a recipe for disaster. Now, what happens is that over time, alcohol takes over a really, really important job in our brains. Our emotions are regulated by something called GABA, which is a neurotransmitter, and GABA acts rather like a foot on a brake pedal of our emotions. Now, when alcohol starts getting involved, it takes over the job essentially, and GABA kind of takes a back seat. It doesn't need to do its job anymore. Alcohol's got control of this. Alcohol's going to regulate the emotions from here on in. So as we go forward and continue to drink, alcohol's pretty much in complete control of our emotional regulation. And as you may know, if you've driven through any city centre late at night and you've seen people in floods of tears after they've been drinking, alcohol definitely has a massive impact on our emotional state. It's definitely not what you want in control of your emotions. But what happens when we quit drinking is that alcohol is no longer in control. We've taken a break from drinking. It can be challenging when we stop drinking because alcohol is no longer on the scene. It's no longer in control of our emotions. And GABA, the neurotransmitter that's supposed to do the job, has kind of taken a back seat since alcohol was taking care of it. Not doing it very well, but it was taking care of it. So essentially, when you come into the first couple of weeks without drinking, it can be rather like an 18-wheeler truck full of emotions with no foot on the brake pedal. And that can be a real challenge. We can feel incredibly vulnerable. We can feel really happy one minute, we can feel down the next. We can feel calm in one moment, and the next minute our anxiety can spiral. It can be in a really bad place before we know it. The great news is that after a fairly short time, things start to regulate themselves. Usually within a few weeks, we're feeling a whole lot better. And in fact, usually after just a week or two without alcohol, we feel around 60% more mentally resilient and much more calm and grounded. But for some people, it can last longer. It can go on for several months where they don't feel completely emotionally regulated. They might feel really teary, or they might feel emotionally triggered by the smallest thing. But what you need to know is that depending how long you've been drinking for, how much you were drinking, and a number of other factors about your own individual makeup, it can take time for this to re-regulate, but it will re-regulate. Most people after 4 to 6 months feel like they're really back in control and that their emotional well-being is right back on point. There's the odd person where it goes on for a little bit longer, and what I would recommend, please consult your GP on this if you're unsure, is to get yourself some GABA supplements. If you get yourself some GABA supplements, you're probably going to find that your emotional regulation is going to get back on track far, far quicker. But do know that there can be this emotional roller coaster that happens straight after we quit drinking, only normally for the first few weeks. And of course, when you put this on top of the fact that you're having to deal with cravings, you're feeling vulnerable anyway, you're worrying about whether you should tell your friends, whether you should talk to your partner. You're exploring a whole new world. And believe me, it's a wonderful world and an incredible community that you're becoming part of. But all of it can increase your anxiety anyway. So for some people, being emotionally unregulated can be an incredible challenge. The last thing I want you to do is feel like you're dealing with that on your own. So check out my Stop Drinking program. That's an amazing place to get help, support, and an arm round the shoulder to guide you through this. There's a video next to me that talks more about the impact of alcohol on our brains and our mental well-being. If you click on that now, you can watch it straight away. And while you're there, click on the subscribe button. I'd love you to become part of this amazing community. And I'll see you again on the next video very, very soon.